Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're connecting the dots between a shocking event in Washington and the surprising resilience of an entire industry. It's a fascinating journey, so let's get right into it.
All right, so here's what we've got on tap. We're going to kick things off with that shock in Washington, then uncover a wild 10-minute twist in geopolitics. From there, we'll pivot to the search for stability, then we'll really get into the anatomy of what makes a business sector crisis-proof, and finally, break down the numbers that tell the whole story.
Okay, let's set the scene. We're at the Washington Hilton Hotel. And it's not just any night. It's the White House Correspondents' Dinner. The room is absolutely packed with the most powerful people in the country.
So the event barely even gets started. We're talking just 5 minutes in, and suddenly, everything is shattered. Gunshots ring out from near the back of the ballroom. Instantly, what was this glitzy, formal dinner turns into pure chaos. You've got 2,600 VIPs just scrambling for their lives.
And just look at how fast this all happened. I mean, within 1 minute of that first shot, the Secret Service is already rushing the stage. Just 2 minutes later, the president is being evacuated. The speed of this whole thing is it's terrifying.
You know, sometimes it's the small details that really paint the picture. An Al Jazeera producer who was there said they could actually smell the gunpowder. That's a chilling detail, right? It tells you this wasn't some distant threat. The shooter was right there, terrifyingly close to everyone.
Which, of course, brings us to the massive question here. I mean, this event had layers upon layers of security, magnetometers, TSA-level screening, the whole deal. So how on earth does someone with what was described as a very, very serious weapon manage to get past that first checkpoint and open fire? It just screams a huge security failure.
Okay, but here's where it gets even more interesting. This attack, it didn't just happen out of the blue. To really get the full picture, we have to rewind a few hours and look at what was happening on the world stage. It's a crucial piece of the puzzle.
So, just before the attack, Trump makes this huge geopolitical move. He completely calls off these high-stakes peace talks with Iran. His reasoning? He said Iran's leadership was a mess, and in his words, we hold all the cards. It was a classic power play, meant to show absolute strength.
But then, something absolutely wild happens. After Trump very publicly cancels the 18-hour flight for his team, how long do you think it took Iran to react? Just 10 minutes. That's it. 10 minutes to completely flip their strategy.
And this right here just perfectly illustrates the kind of high-stakes mind games being played. Before Trump's move, Iran was standing firm, making all these demands. But afterwards, they folded, instantly, and sent over a much more favorable deal. It's a masterclass in just how volatile these diplomatic showdowns can be.
So, let's just take a step back. What we've seen here is chaos on two completely different fronts. You've got a sudden, shocking failure in physical security, and at the same time, this very calculated disruption in global diplomacy. Both of these events really highlight just how volatile and unpredictable our world can be.
And that really gets you thinking, right? If the systems we count on, everything from security details to international treaties, can just fall apart so spectacularly, where do you even find real stability? That search for resilience, for something that can withstand shocks, well, it isn't just about politics. It's a huge question in the world of finance and business, too.
Okay, so with that in mind, let's make a hard pivot. We're going to shift from systems that failed to a system that analysts say is designed to be pretty much crisis-proof. We're talking about an entire industry that just keeps chugging along, whether there's a war, a recession, or a market crash. And that industry is hospitals.
So why is that? What makes them so bulletproof? Well, think about it. You might put off buying a new car, you might cancel a vacation, but you don't postpone getting your appendix out. Your health is non-negotiable. People will always find a way to pay for essential medical care, and that gives these businesses this incredibly stable, constant stream of demand.
Now, to be clear, we're not talking about your neighborhood walk-in clinic here. The real titans of this industry, the ones investors are really looking at, are what we call tertiary care hospitals. These are the big, multi-specialty centers that do it all. Complex heart surgeries, organ transplants, cancer treatments, the really high-margin, specialized stuff.
But to really get why this is such a solid business, we have to go deeper than just the general idea. We need to actually look at the business model and break down the numbers, the actual metrics, that make these places so financially stable.
Okay, look at this, because this is fascinating. There's this huge disconnect between who's walking through the door and where the money is coming from. A hospital sees way more outpatients for, consultations and checkups, but the lion's share of the revenue, we're talking up to 80%, comes from that smaller group of inpatients who are actually admitted for major procedures.
And that brings us to what is arguably the single most important metric for understanding any hospital business. It's called RPOB. It stands for Average Revenue Per Occupied Bed, and it basically tells you exactly how much money each and every bed in that hospital is bringing in, per day. It is the ultimate yardstick for profitability.
But here's the thing. Not all beds are created equal. Far from it. Location is a massive, massive factor. Just look at this comparison. A bed in a big city hospital like Max in Delhi can pull in more than double the revenue of a bed in a smaller Tier 2 city. So when it comes to pricing power, location is absolutely everything.
All right, so beyond just where the hospital is, investors look at two other key things. First, is the hospital mature? Basically, is it an established place with a steady stream of patients? Because those are way more profitable than brand new hospitals. And second, who's actually paying the bill? The payer mix. A hospital that gets more direct payments from patients, rather than dealing with insurance companies or the government, almost always has healthier margins.
So we've kind of come full circle, haven't we? We started with a security breach at a state dinner, and we ended up on the balance sheet of a hospital. But at the end of the day, whether you're looking at security protocols or an investment portfolio, you're asking the exact same fundamental question. In a world this unpredictable, how do you build systems that don't just survive the shocks, but actually thrive through them?